I don't believe there is an easy way. If you want to succeed in life, if you want to achieve things in life, if you want to be happy in life, it's all about discipline. If it's harder, it's going to be sweeter. If it's harder, it's going to be much better. And if it's harder, you really enjoy what you've done to get there. So harder is better.
Welcome back to the Canadian Dream Podcast. We are here today with Urvish Subodh, who is originally from India. He's been in Canada for almost a decade, and he is part of the faculty of University Canada West in Vancouver. And there's something very special about Urvish. He is the underdog, and last year he led a team of underdogs to become, for the first time, the champions in the Nationals MBA Games. So I have the honor to introduce to you Urvish. Hello, Urvish.
Thank you, Alton. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you please introduce yourself and tell our audience who you are and what your role has been with the University Canada West?
Sure, yeah. I'll start with who I am. I actually learned this from an elder. It's Nanaimo First Nations in Nanaimo as to how to introduce yourself. So I'll say my name is Urvish. I'm the son of Harshida and Pankaj Kumar Subodh. I was born in Ahmedabad, Gujarat in India. It's central western part of India. That's me. I have a 10-month-old son, Arjun, and I'm married to a beautiful woman, Sneha. At University Canada West, I'm a faculty over there. I've been at the university for 6 years now. Actually, a few days ago, 6 years now. And part of my role is also the head of the MBA Games program. So we set up the MBA Games program about 3 years ago. And we've been going to two major competitions. One is called the BC MBA Games. So it's the top 5 universities in BC where they come and compete for 3 days in different types of competitions. So there's athletics, which is sports. There's academics, which is case. And then there's spirits, which is all about raising the spirit and the bar and raising awareness of important issues that are faced in BC. And then there's a bigger version of that, which is called the National MBA Games. The National MBA Games is about 15 to 20 top business schools in Canada. And that one we've been going on for 2 years now.
And last year you won it.
Yes, we won both the competitions.
You were the total underdogs,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Tell me about, everybody loves underdog stories.
Isn't it? Yes.
They all love to root for the underdogs.
Yeah.
Where was UCW when you guys decided to join the MBA Games 2 years ago for the first time?
Yeah, so the first time I took this project to the president, Sheldon Levy. Sheldon obviously came from Toronto Metropolitan University. So he saw what the MBA Games was. He was aware of what it was and the importance of it. And when we took the project over there with a colleague of mine, his name is Seth Lee, the two of us took the program, and really the conversation was, can we do this as University Canada West? Because the experience that we've had in the past is we hadn't gone to big competitions like that before. So the expectations were really low. In fact, I remember listening to this to say, don't come last. Don't finish last. And I was like, well, that's interesting how we think about it. But because we're doing it for the first time and, there isn't a lot of experience within the university to do this. And I have a background. When I was at Vancouver Island University in 2016 and 17, we hosted both the BC and the National MBA Games when I was doing my MBA over there. So I was part of the committee that hosted the competition, and I very well knew what the competition looked like. I think the ambiguity or the fact that we were underdog came from this whole idea of the schools doing it for a number of years, and we were doing it for the first time.
And the other universities, is it safe to assume that all of them are bigger universities?
They are really big, yes.
With totally different budgets.
Totally different budgets, totally different exposures. The quality of the students and the type of students that you get over there are very different than the ones that we have. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's a different type of students that you get in different universities. Also, the intellect that you have at some of the bigger schools is very different than what we have. So that was kind of major difference.
And how did you guys do in the first?
Yeah, so BC MBA Games was out of 5. We came second, marginally before first place SFU. SFU was really good on that weekend, and I'm a very competitive person. And I thought we were very, very close to winning it. So it was touching distance. You see sometimes, I'm a big fan of football or soccer as we call it over here. And sometimes you see some Champions League finals where you see teams being so close and not winning it. And that was kind of how we felt when we finished second. And I remember coming back home and pretty much crying to my wife to say, I think we worked really, really hard. I'm so proud of those guys.
So you were happy, crying because not because you were angry that you didn't get it.
It was mixed emotions, to be honest with you. I thought we should have won. But hey, the fact is a fact that we didn't. We came second. And I think it's also important to remember that the spirit in these competitions is not always about finishing first. Because what you achieve through the competition is there's a lot of components to it. So when we went there for the first time, the theme was about inner resilience, which is really showcasing how we as humans evolved through difficult challenges in the recent past. So most definitely talking about COVID, because it did hit a lot of people really badly when it comes to mental health. So really taking a team of people over there and telling them, what's your journey? What did you learn through it? And how did you become resilient in different ways? And really coming out of that weekend we did come out really resilient out of that weekend.
So that was the first competition.
Yes.
And then when you got back there a year later, you guys were on fire.
Yes, absolutely on fire.
What changed in your preparation?
Yeah.
So that you could come, because then you won the BC. I'm spoiling it already, not letting you say it.
Yeah.
So you won the BC Games and then the BC MBA Games and then went to
National MBA.
National. How was the National?
We won that one as well.
Where was it?
It was at Brock University, Goodman School of Business, Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. And who came in second and third?
Second, if I remember, it was University of Alberta. And third was the host school, Brock University.
Okay. Yeah. So you went from within a span of only 2 years, you went from, hey, please don't be the last one to winning the regional games, the BC MBA Games, and then the national.
Yeah, the nationals are the original ones. They've been going on for 40 years now.
Wow.
And the BC MBA Games about 10 years now.
Wow.
Yes.
So what changed in the preparation?
I think it's really understanding a structure, right? When you're coaching a team, you really have to learn what the structures are when you're working with different people within the university. So I think I had much better knowledge. I'm so thankful to the leadership of the university that they fully gave me the control of how to run things. And I really enjoy doing things in a certain way where I'm able to cater towards the kind of team that I'm working with. So having the opportunity of learning from participating in the first one and then bringing the second team, I think what was the biggest learning is the discipline that is required to go to some of these competitions, because you are really competing with the best of the best. There is no doubt about that. If you took 120 to 160 best MBA students out of BC, that's what you get from the BC MBA Games. So we really knew what we were competing against the second time. I think in terms of the preparation, we started a little bit early. Sometimes, the information comes in, say, around July, August. We started a little bit early to say, let's start doing this a little bit early, because there's a lot of lessons learned that came out of it. Like I said, University Canada West is a very innovative university. So they try to do things very differently as compared to a traditional business school. So now trying to connect the traditional way of doing things and the innovative way of doing things, you really need discipline. You need a lot of persistence. It's all about discipline and persistence. And then you also have to take into account that the students that we have, it's a very intense MBA program. If you look at the amount of hours they spend in the school, it's phenomenal. This on top of the fact that they're new to the country, they're new to the system. Some of them are new to the language as well.
And many of them have to work. They have a job.
They have to work, right? Like talk about cost of living
so
crisis.
When do you practice? When do you train?
That's exactly the thing. So within the team of 24 in the BC MBA Games, there is 3 teams of 8. So case teams practice the business case team.
So let's go back. What are these activities
Yeah.
at the MBA Games?
So-
Are they sports activities or related to business, academic?
Yeah, the name might be a little bit misleading because it's called games, and people assume that games is, just going there and having fun, which it is. It's a lot of spirit of connecting with folks from other universities, businesses, and all of that. So there are 3 competitions within the whole BC and the National MBA Games. There is the spirit competition, there is the academic, which is the case competition, and then there is the sports competition. So within these 3, there are different components of it.
Mm-hmm.
So with Spirit, there's the social media challenge. There's a challenge to raise awareness of the theme and the charity that we pick, where students raise funds for the charity. The MBA students, they raise funds for the charity. You also have to do a lot of social media challenge where you raise awareness of the competition and the charity, but also raise awareness of the stories that the students bring in. Then there's the case competition. There are different types of cases in there. There is one that's a live case. So they quite literally have 24 to 48 hours to crack the case, which is intense. It's like, staying up 2 or 3 in the morning, getting a couple hours of sleep, and then getting back up again and going again. And then there's a take-home case. You have a few weeks to prepare for it. And then the most interesting one is Pecha Kucha. So Pecha Kucha, I think it comes from the civil engineering world, where the slides sort of keep running for about 10 minutes. They don't stop. You don't click next or forward or backward. You just keep talking for 10 minutes. And it's almost like a play where people talk and share. It's mostly reflections of what you've learned about the theme in the competition. So that's the business case.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the sports. So sports is host school decides. It's usually dodgeball, volleyball, basketball, some very Canadian way of doing things, which is, some of these sports. So those are the 3
And
competitions.
dance? I remember UCW was.
Yeah, so it's
dance.
part of the spirit. Yeah, that one I forgot.
Oh, the spirit, first,
yeah.
not sports. Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of practices, this is the most important part of it, which is if you don't practice, you don't go and compete the way we compete. The sports team practices 4:30 to 5 in the morning. They start then at YMCA in downtown, and then they go till 8 o'clock, 4 days a week, 5 days a week.
So wait, what time did it start in the morning?
4:30 to 5 in the morning.
4:30 to 5
In the morning, yes. And then they practice until...
Did they get any financial benefits?
There is some support that we try and provide to the students, but it's really about learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about doing this is experiential learning. You are experiencing while you're learning.
Yeah.
And so the learning is really, I always say this in my classes, MBA or life is all about time management. I work 60 to 90 hours a week sometimes, and it's all about the way you manage your time. So I'm helping them learn how to manage your time. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where they practice. Yeah. And then weekends, they kind of take time off. And then in the afternoon, I'm with the spirit team. And this is all on the weekends, right? For me, this is all on the weekends. I work with the spirit team, look at the social media they have. The university has an excellent support to mentor students. So they learn how to run social media. They learn, colors, backgrounds, cuts, fonts, all of that stuff with the marketing team at the university. And then you see the quality that we bring out. They also make a lot of connections with local businesses to say, we are doing this competition. Would you love to support us? Would you love to support this charity? So that's what they do with the spirit competition in the afternoon. And then in the evening is the case team. And that's kind of where I spend some of my time as well, which is kind of after work hours, after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I sit with them. I look at the cases they practice. I have a few faculties that I have the excellent leisure to work with. I have some external coaches that come and help the students learn how to crack the case, how to present the case, how to think in a certain way. Because, in Canada, they talk a lot about the Canadian work experience, right?
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, sometimes baffles me. Because if you look at the experiences of the students that we have, or in general, in the National and the BC MBA Games, people come with a lot of experience. And when I say a lot, like, some of them come with anywhere from 5 to 20, 25 years of work experience. And then when they go out looking for work, it's like, oh, well, you don't have the Canadian work experience. And at some point, it's like we as a society need to, or we as the business community need to maybe pause for a second and say, what is a Canadian work experience? So they learn a lot of that from the case and they practice till late nights. I had a son 10 months ago, and I was on parental leave when we were preparing for the BSA and the National MBA Games. And when the child is little, you have to wake up every 2 hours. I remember rocking him to sleep at 2 or 3 in the morning while looking at case presentations and writing notes. So that's the kind of discipline and persistence it takes. But also to remember that the students on the other end are also preparing between 2 and 3 in the morning. Like they're working really, really hard. Mm-hmm. So that's what the preparation looks like.
I want to talk more about the changes that you have noticed within the team.
Yeah.
People who start at the beginning when they go, oh yeah, I want to be a part of this team.
Yeah.
They don't know much what's being expected from them. And maybe they don't know each other. Oh yeah, hi, nice to meet you. My name is so and so. And then for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months, or maybe even longer, they're gonna become a very solid group.
Yes.
List a few of the changes that you have seen, the positive changes that you have seen in the group.
And I'll maybe roll the clock back to 2016 and 17 with the bunch of most amazing folks I've ever worked with. When I was in my MBA, we hosted the BC and the National MBA Games, and we really came out as just different people altogether. Because, as they say, you want to turn a graphite into a diamond, you have to put extreme amount of pressure on it. And we all came out as diamonds. And these are my family. These people are my friends. They are my family. We've attended weddings, baby showers, helped raise kids, helped with moving, helped with everything. And when I started coaching the team, that's what my message was, is to say, you may not know each other right now, but when we are done with this, when this is over and you are on the other side of the competition, you will be a big family. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you an example of that. From the first team, one of the team members had a baby. And I saw the pictures of the baby shower and the entire team was there. And, I talked to the guy and he's like, man, it's so wonderful to make these connections. Because otherwise you would not have made these connections in such an intense way of connecting to each other. Because when you're working under pressure, when you want to really achieve something, you really work with people that you trust. So you really build the trust. So I think the one thing that kind of came out is them coming out on the other end. There's just different people, different discipline, different level of persistence, different belief. When you go to a different country, you have so many questions. Yeah. And when you have questions, you sort of question yourself. And so that element of belief kind of starts to disappear a little bit because you're in an unknown zone. And when you go to these competitions and achieve success, or, you just go to this competition, you experience what you experience, you come out with a different belief. So you see the way their confidence and their belief changes, which is one of the biggest things. The second thing is the discipline that changes. Because when they start to believe, they know that they can't achieve anything without the discipline. So then they come out on the other end, they know that now they want to achieve something. They know these are two really important aspects of it, is belief and trusting yourself and really having the discipline. So you see that they come out and so they are so much more disciplined in their own way.
Yeah.
So those are the two things.
Isn't it crazy how important discipline is? And many people try to dodge it as much as they can.
Yes.
Yeah, try to fake it as if there would magically be another way. There is no other way.
No, there is no easy way. No, I don't believe there is an easy way. If you want to succeed in life, if you want to achieve things in life, if you want to be happy in life, it's all about discipline. It's all about discipline. And I learned that very late in my life.
Very late?
Very late in my life, I was very indisciplined.
I want to talk more about the MBA Games and the group, but I'm looking forward to turning towards you and talking about your story, because you also are such an underdog.
Yes.
Well, or you were.
Yes.
Right now you are the beep national champion in MBA Games.
Yes.
But you have also a story where the odds seemed to be against you.
Yes.
How about this? Let's go and talk a little bit about your story now, and then if we try to come back to the MBA Games.
Absolutely.
You were born in Gujarat.
Yes.
Yeah. I have been to Gujarat.
Wow, I had no idea. Wow.
Baroda or Vadodara.
Yeah. That's 100 kilometers from where I live.
I was there just before a big earthquake took.
Yes. Oh, so that was early 2000.
Yes.
Yes.
You remember that?
Oh
Yeah,
yes, I was
2000.
very little, and we were all very affected by it. A tragic event. It was one of the most terrible events I've experienced in my life.
Really? So
Yes.
I was there like weeks before.
Yes.
When that happened, I think I was in Pushkar or in Darjeeling.
Yeah. So it's
Because
north
I
of
was in
India.
India backpacking with my older sister for
Yeah.
3 months,
Wow.
86 days.
Wow. That must
Yeah.
have been some experience.
Yeah. And we traveled so much by bus, by train, went to the heat in Rajasthan, Mumbai,
Yeah.
and also to the cold of Sikkim,
Yeah.
Darjeeling, saw Mount Everest.
Wow. You may have seen more India than a lot of Indians for
Yeah,
sure.
I did. I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
And now there's so many people from India in Canada
Yes.
trying to live the Canadian dream like you are.
Yes.
So back to your story. Sorry, I had to share it.
Yes. For sure.
You came from Gujarat.
Yes.
What kind of child were you and how were the odds against you?
I was a difficult child for sure. I remember things started changing a little bit when I was probably in like fourth grade. My understanding is I may have had learning disability. I could not focus on education, and because of that, I was least interested in it. But if you looked at my drawings and paintings from the time, they were really good. So I was sort of a little bit artistic in that way, but I wasn't really interested in education. I didn't want to go to school. I'd make up all sorts of reasons to not go to school. And I would like really celebrate when I would not go to school. And my dad, he's retired now. He was a mechanical engineer, worked for an oil company, and he'd work for 3 days straight, 4 days straight, 5 days straight. And then he would come home and probably get a call from the school to say he has to come and see the principal. It's like, oh, what happened now? My brother and I, my elder brother and I, we both went to the same school. So it's like, is it about the older one? It's like, no, the older one's just fine. It's the younger one. So then he'd go to the school and it's like, what's wrong? And it's like, well, he doesn't do his homework. He doesn't pay attention in the class. His handwriting is all over the place. He doesn't even know how to write straight. All of that. And I failed almost all subjects in school all the time. And it continued until I was probably 13 or 14. So it was a good chunk of 4 or 5 years where I was very difficult to handle. And I guess my parents just were trying to figure things out as to what was wrong with me.
And were your parents wealthy?
No. My dad comes from a joint family of 3 brothers, and my mom comes from a joint family of 9 brothers and sisters.
9.
9, yes. And we are Dalits. So I don't know if you know who Dalits are, but Dalits are called the untouchables in India.
Oh.
So years and years
caste.
ago, the caste system,
Bottom.
yes, the very bottom of it.
Wow.
So we grew up in a time when untouchability was still there. It's still there in India right now. It's not as prevalent as before, but it's still there right now. And we came from a not so wealthy background, and that's part of the reason my dad had to work really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd work like 3 or 4 or 5 days straight.
And why are they considered untouchable?
I think it started years and years ago, back in the day when there was division of labor. So in India, if you go to the caste system, people are born in the caste, and they sort of do certain type of work,
Okay.
which was then kind of divided into the way people do things. So for example, if you're born in the very high upper caste of the Brahmins, right? Brahmins are known to be the priests. They are very close to God and they do God's own work. And then there is the accountants, right? There's a technical term in my language, but the accountants, and they're really good with businesses. And so sort of kind of going through the pyramid and going towards the bottom of it, there's a scheduled caste, which is hundreds of castes in there. And we are one of them. We have Vankars. So Vankars are the ones that actually make cloth. So I don't know if you've seen some of those machines where there's like threads in there, and then it kind of moves back and forth. So we make clothes. That's what we used to make. But it was part of the caste or the subcaste that kind of went towards the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. So, really growing up, faced a lot of casteism, a lot of untouchability in known and unknown ways because I was very little. And then when I grew up, I could see it. A lot of times directly, a lot of times indirectly. So that, didn't grow up very wealthy.
And why did you decide to come to Canada? Whose idea was it?
It was my idea. I actually went to England first in 2009. My dad worked really hard. I think he realized that if he wants me to see that, like if he wants me to see success, he has to put in a lot of time and effort and money, a lot of money. And he pretty much dedicated his life to making money so we would have what we have today. Like I said, working 3, 4, 5 days straight for years, decades. So I went to England first, came back. It was during the financial crisis, so there were no jobs over there for us. So I came back.
So you went as a family?
No, just me.
Okay.
And then I came back and I did different kind of jobs. I was teaching over there. And
did you graduate from university first?
I did, yes.
In India?
In India.
What did you study?
I studied accounting and auditing. Yeah.
From this cast,
Yeah, I tried. Yes.
Okay.
So did that, came back, taught for a few years, worked a couple of years in mergers and acquisitions, and kind of got tired of everything. Just, the social structure, the people, the way things were. I love my country. Like, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. But, things weren't the way I wanted it to be. I'm sort of a person that I don't want to be judged by a label. The label of the school I went to, the label of my last name, the label of where I live, the label of my intellect. I don't like labels. And I sort of saw a lot of labels over there because it's a very competitive place, right? Yeah. And I saw a lot of labels over there which were kind of glass ceilings for a lot of people. So I said, I want to go a place where there are less labels. I mean, I don't know if there's a place with no labels, but less labels. So I said, I'm going to go to the most remote place in Canada. That's kind of what
most remote place?
Yeah, like not so known place.
Yeah, Yukon.
Yeah, kind of like that, like really kind of like that. But I couldn't survive in the cold. I'm not a person who enjoys the cold. So yeah, I actually ended up in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island. I went to VIU to do my second master's over there. And I sort of absolutely loved small towns.
Really? What was the main challenge that you faced once you landed in Canada?
When I landed in Vancouver, August 2015, I knew nobody. And I took all a friend in Toronto who called his friend, who called another friend, who then called another friend. And then the guy let me sleep on his couch for 9 days. 9 days.
And what did you do in the meantime?
In the 9 days, I had to find a place in Nanaimo, go see the island, go see where I was going to live and everything. And the real estate rental crisis were still prevalent at the time. It was very hard to find a rental. So I found this little 7x9 room, paid $375 a month. And found this guy's friend, found another guy who came and picked me up at the ferry terminal. And then picked a room over there and pretty much moved after 9 days. I think the biggest challenge for me was homesickness for sure. We come from very comfortable lives in India. Everything's done for you. Your maids, your parents kind of doing your stuff. I was still a lot independent, but then, just finding your way around this really small town in, Nanaimo. You have to walk for, the hills to be able to get your groceries. You go to buses, there's one bus every half an hour. And if you see it passing through, you'd be like, oh my goodness me, now you have to wait another half an hour. So, really walking was a lot of challenge. I remember I came with shoes that broke and it was raining and raining and raining. So wet socks all the time. Wow. So the challenge was really
Which money did you bring when you came to Canada?
I had my GIC. So I had $10,000 in my GIC and I'd get like about $400 every month.
Peace of mind.
I had peace of mind, but that would only cover my rent. Mm-hmm. So, eating food and, getting textbooks and just living general life. Like I said, the shoe, right? Like I wore that shoe for a good amount of few weeks until I realized either I changed the shoe or I'm going to really get sick. And if I got sick, I had no idea what I could do. Like where I could go and get my meds or all of that. Like VIU had its own medical department sort of nurses to help us.
What were you studying at Vancouver Island University?
So I was doing a dual degree. It's called the MBA, the Masters of Business Administration, and then with University of Hertfordshire in England, they had an MSc in International Business. So we took 6 courses. You generally take 3 courses for one master's, and we took 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. And what was your first job? When did you get your first job, and what did you do?
Oh, it was.
Or list all the jobs.
Yeah, I think I had a lot. The first one was I worked at DQ. DQ.
So selling fast food.
Yeah, fast food. I was in the kitchen and
In the kitchen.
and had to work with beef, and
Do you think
I'm
being in the
a Hindu.
kitchen is harder than being
in the front.
cashier?
Yes. I asked for
With
it.
an accounting
Yeah.
degree, they sent you to the kitchen?
Yeah, that's pretty much how you start.
Yeah.
And
Because
I was.
you looked like Indian. Sounded like India. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
kitchen.
there are so many stereotypes about Indians, right? We always drive taxis, or we do the fast food and the retail and stuff like that. But
Fast food
fast food.
deliveries.
yeah, all of that. But if you really look at the intellect, like some of the biggest senior executives running some of the biggest companies
Yeah.
are all Indians.
Microsoft?
Yes,
Yeah.
name it. Microsoft, Google, large parts of Apple and Tesla,
So first at DQ
So the first at DQ.
and working with beef, but
Yes,
you're
so
a vegetarian.
I'm a Hindu, and cow is sacred to us.
I know.
So I couldn't do it. I told them, move me to the cashier, or I can't work with you folks. Like, I apologize, but
And
I have respect for my religion. And they kind of went back and forth, and I said, they couldn't make it work. So I was like, it's fine. I'm not going to work. And then I found a job as a cleaner. So I was a janitor in Sears in the Nanaimo. I would wake up 4 a.m, walk 6 blocks to a friend's place, and the guy would then pick me up and drop me to Sears. And he would
what
do a
was your
similar
shift
job.
from 6 a.m.?
Yeah, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Just
Before
clean
the store opens?
before the store
and everything.
opens, clean everything.
Did you like it?
No,
No?
I
was
wasn't
the
a big
janitor.
fan.
My
I
sister
wasn't a
and I-
big fan. Yeah.
My sister and I, when we were traveling, backpacking, we worked as janitors, cleaners in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We loved it.
Yeah.
We enjoy cleaning. I think the reward, it's, you do something,
Yeah.
you can see the
It's
result
clean.
immediately.
Yes.
I tell my wife now, let's not get distracted. Let's hire someone to do this because
Yeah.
we both like it.
Yes.
We both enjoying this, but there's other important things that
stuff
we have to do.
Yes.
Otherwise, we would be cleaning
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. I mean, cleaning's therapeutic when you want to do it for leisure.
Yeah,
But
but
when you
that
have
job
to do
was hard.
it was hard, going to washrooms and cleaning stuff. Sometimes you'd see stuff in there.
It's different.
It was not fun. And I came with a master's degree. I'd worked in mergers and acquisitions, and kind of doing the work that I've done. It was definitely not fun, tough pill to swallow. But
And what did you do
talk
after
about
that?
discipline, right? Had
Yeah.
to make it work. So
And after that, what did you do?
after that, I did that for a few months, and then I started working at a Chevron gas station. I really liked that one. I really liked that job.
And what did you do? Were you in the
I was a
convenience
cashier.
store?
Yeah, I was a cashier.
Okay.
I worked at some quiet spots, and I'd read books. I'd
And why
read,
did you like it?
did my MBA. I was studying.
Oh,
I was
had
studying at job.
downtime
Yes,
to
yeah.
do
There was a lot of downtime. I was just studying. I was reading books. There was a lot of time to reflect who I am as a person, because you're quite literally just sitting there and staring at stuff. And I remember on bright sunny days as today, people would just fill their gas and they'd tell you where they are going,
Buy ice.
buy ice and all of that. And I'm like, man, I'd love to do that one day. Have a decent life, just enjoy my life. And that was always something that kept me disciplined, is the dream of having a life where I could enjoy it.
And I can absolutely relate to it. It's funny because people see whoever is doing well,
Yeah.
whatever well might be for them, and they go, "Oh, that person is doing well." Sometimes they want what you have, but they don't want to do
Yeah.
what you have done.
It's the iceberg effect, right? They see the top of the ice,
Yeah.
but they don't see what's underneath it.
And I have lots of stories. I don't want to sound narcissistic, listening.
I try to avoid that because
stories.
every time I talk about myself, it kind of feels like, God, I'm talking so much about myself. I don't want to do
But
it.
it's a great reminder that
It is.
Look, we started from the bottom. And I
Yes.
remember when I arrived here in Vancouver, man, I'm just gonna share one thing.
Yes.
I remember the first time I went to Whistler.
Yes.
It was like a different world,
Magical, right?
completely unattainable.
Yes.
But really, I felt like, wow, I will never be able
Make
to
it.
sit here at a restaurant outside,
Have a beer.
and spend money and then go skiing. I
same.
thought I was never going to be able to do that.
Same.
Never,
Yeah.
never. And now it's, oh yeah, we're going to Whistler again. Oh, great.
Or let's go.
Where are we staying this time? But all that came with
So much work.
sacrifice.
Because when you put your head in the bed at night, when you're going through these struggles, you don't really know sometimes where you're going. And, then you see silver linings.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just fake lights. Sometimes that's something real good glimmer of hope.
And when did things start getting better for you?
I think when I said I was helping host the BC and the National MBA Games, and I met one of the judges at the competition. He was reading a case, and I sort of wrote part of it, and I was running the case competition, and he said, "Who's running all of this? Like, who wrote this?" And I was like, "Oh God, I don't want to say it was me. I don't want to say it was me." Kept asking a couple times, and then I went to him and I said,
I'm sorry, it was me.
Yeah, so no, I was so hesitant, but I was like, hey, if I made a mistake, I'm going to own up to it, right? Humans make mistakes, you learn from it. So I said, hey, I wrote it, like, is there anything wrong with it, or are things not good? And he's like, no, this is really good. I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, so what do you do? So I shared my background and, my passion and things like that. And it just so turned out, he said, are you looking for work? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I have had no time to apply for jobs because I was doing this. And I passionately did it because I really believed in it. I was about raising awareness of violence against women and children in Canada. And I really loved it. So I said, I was so busy with this that I didn't have the time. And he's like, how would you like to come and work for us?
For us, who?
It's a small boutique consulting firm called PRA Canada, Peter Reimer and Associates, and one of the partners, Fred Zidane. So he said, how would you like to come and work for us? And I was like, great. I don't know what you guys do, but could you tell me a little bit of what you do? And he said, they're into auditing, they're into risk management and stuff like that. And I've had background from it, right? And I was very good with numbers. Fun fact, now I'm good with numbers, but I wasn't. I was terrible with numbers. And so he said, and I said, yeah, can I apply for a job? And he's like, we don't have a job. I was like, well, how do I proceed over here? And he said, send me your resume and a cover letter. So I went to one of my internship advisors and I said, they didn't give me a job description. I kind of know what they do. I don't know how to write a cover letter. And they say, in this case, you write something called a letter of intent of what would you like to go and do there in line with what they offer. So I was like, okay. So then I wrote a cover letter, a resume, sent it. 4 weeks, I didn't hear about it. And then I think it was one of the worst snowstorms over the last 30 years. And I was kind of, preparing for the exam. I had a finance exam the next day. And I got a call from the HR and she's like, we've got your resume and we're really impressed. We'd love to arrange for an interview. And I was like, whoa, is it
Really
like a
fast?
spam call?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, we love your background and it fits really well with what we are looking for an intern. And I was like, okay, great. Like, when can I show up? And the office was in Surrey. So they said, this is...
Were you living in Nanaimo?
I was living in Nanaimo.
Okay, so that's
3-4
3-4 hour journey.
4-hour journey, right? In that snowstorm. So they said, come over next week. We'll do an interview. I was like, great. Went for the exam. Got another call 2 days before. And she's like, it's confirmed. I was like, yeah, I'll show up. And she's like, how are you traveling, by the way? And I was like, well, I'm going to take a bus, get to the ferry terminal, take the ferry, and then take 3 buses to Surrey. And she's like, wow, that's a lot of buses and traveling. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. She's like, yeah, but the interview's at 9. I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the 5 o'clock ferry. I'll be there at 9. She's like, no, that's awful lot. And so Canadian of her. She said, can we arrange a breakfast interview at the Horseshoe Bay ferry terminal? And I was like,
Wow.
Really?
So they
I
picked
remember.
someone.
Yes, she and the director showed up at the time.
So
At-
they
they
drove
came.
an hour and a half.
Yes,
basically,
to get to Horseshoe Bay.
to meet you there. Wow.
And Elton, I've been to interviews waiting for hours and hours to be interviewed, applying for jobs before in England and, struggled to get an interview. And then they wanted to come and see me. I was like, wow, man, I must have done something right in life to be able to have this leisure, at least, to be interviewed.
That would never happen in India.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if that would happen in India. The competition's so high up there that I'm not sure. Maybe with startups, it's different. The culture's changing in India now. It's changing rapidly. Tech is changing a lot. But, I was so surprised, pleasantly surprised. So.
And how did that interview go?
Through the week, man, I'm using forks and knives to eat breakfast. I had a Canadian friend, very dear friend and a roommate, Richard. He was helping me understand how to eat with fork and knife because, you just go with a fork and dig in, right?
Okay. It used to be very common eating with the hands, right? I'm saying this, it's true.
I eat with my hands.
I ate
a
lot of thalis with my hand in India.
I still eat with my hands at home. It's the most comfortable way of eating. But yeah, I went there and I had a really bad stomach the night before. So I said, I'm just going to get a sandwich or something. Because I also thought I wasn't sure. Can I order while they're eating or do I just have to watch them eat? I was so confused, man. I had no idea. I was asking people and they're like, yeah, just go for it. Order like a breakfast. We'll wait for them to order first. So what's your budget to order. So say if they order something for $25, then you can order something for 20. If they're ordering something for 10, don't go and order something for 20.
Okay.
So I was so confused. So I just got a sandwich
nowadays,
little things.
You look at the bigger picture, little details.
Details. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But for me, I'm the kind of person, I care about little details. Yeah. It's the little details that make the bigger picture. Yeah. So, I had an amazing interview. I was offered the job.
It was an internship.
It was an internship. And I thought I was going to lose.
Paid internship?
Paid internship. I thought I was going to, they were going to fire me in 4 days is what I thought. I didn't thought I was going to make it because they asked me to do something and I could not get one Excel formula to run. It was so challenging. I don't know what it was. It was I moved to Surrey in a 1999 Ford Taurus wagon. Everything's new. They gave me stuff with details, but then I was like, I'm not too sure what I'm supposed to do. I'm not too sure. 3 days I tried, 2 days I tried doing it. 2 a.m, something clicked and I woke up and I was like, I'm going to try running this Excel sheet a little bit differently. And I tried it and one formula worked. And I was like, voila, the formula worked. In the 3.5 years that I worked over there, I used to create about 400 reports a year, all by myself.
Wow.
Everything by myself.
You had to move from Nanaimo to Surrey for an internship?
For an internship.
My goodness.
Because everything was here, right? Nanaimo is hard to find a job.
So you were done. You had your degree already?
Yeah.
And you were
I got a job before I graduated.
You were ready
I was one of the lucky ones.
You were ready for a life in the big city?
Yes, I was ready to jump back into a big city life.
How many times, Urvish, did you think about giving up and going back to India?
I think that was not an option for me.
No? Never thought about it?
I thought about it. There were nights where I would just stay up, staring at the ceiling and saying I miss my family and I really was missing my family. And I was just missing just being at home and being comfortable. And whereas over here, you have to do sort of everything by yourself, which is very basic. Mm-hmm. That's how life is supposed to be. But I thought about it a lot of times. And sometimes it's just, like walking in the rain with broken shoe. Whereas back home, man, I'd be the king of the world kind of thing. So it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But the one thing that kept me going was I wanted to do something on my own with absolutely very limited or no support at all. Just do it on my own. Because when I grew up, failing in school and all the time, I heard so many times that, I was a failure or, I was the dumb guy or I was the guy who would always fail in the classes. Like these things they still ring in my ears right now. When I sometimes don't achieve something I want, I kind of go back to those times and remind myself that that's kind of where I came from. Is not
doubt.
A lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt.
And how do you get out of that rabbit hole whenever you enter it?
We talked about it, right? That through the MBA Games, some of my team members had belief. I think you start little. You start as little as you can, and you sort of take it from there. So I was volunteering for events for MNP when they were doing a social event. I would volunteer as a referee in Nanaimo. I would go there and, cut fruits if I have to, just to meet people over there. And then you talk to people, right? And then they ask you questions, and then you answer the questions, and then you can see their faces change, and you're like, I'm not that dumb, or I'm not that not so smart person, right? And then you do those little things. And then I think one thing that is very underrated in Canada as a student is volunteering. Because you're sort of thinking, I'm not getting paid, but I'm putting in hours, and you have to pay your fees, and then there's, this whole cost of living crisis. Do as much volunteering as you can. Like, forget about enjoying and leisure and stuff like that for a couple of years. Like, really grill yourself. And I was doing a lot of that volunteering, like, just hosting the BC and the National MBA Games. I managed funds of about $500,000 for both the competitions. And when I did that, I was surprised myself. I was like, wow, I can do this. Like, if I really put my mind to it, I can do this. And I believe everybody can. But it's just sometimes we take the easy way out. Because there are so many easy ways out. And now even more so. We didn't have delivery jobs at the time. We didn't have side gigs at the time. We didn't have those options in 2015.
You needed a job.
You needed a job.
Yeah.
And so you had to, take your resumes and walk around the city to distribute it. And so at some point I realized I will do little things. And every little thing will help me build the confidence. And then once I build the confidence, then I'm going to try for bigger things.
Exactly.
And then you try for bigger and bigger and bigger until you can continue to build on something. It's like making a building, right?
Yeah.
You dig the hole first, which is, now you're like, okay, I know what this looks like. And then you build the little foundations, right? Little pieces in the foundations. And then once that's done, now you can say, okay, now I can make the building as tall as I want. But the foundations are really important. And when students come over here, especially from my country, parts of my country, they've seen things and heard things in videos, and they've seen Instagram stories, and people think it's all bed of roses. It's, the grass is so green on the other side. But when they come over here, they're just smacked with the reality of what life is over here. And they don't know what to do. And then they sort of try to find the easy way out. The easy way out is, I'm going to do whatever job I can get. And then I'm going to continue doing it. And then I'm going to find another job that will get me the PR. And I look at it as, I'm not saying it doesn't have respect. It has a lot of respect. Everything you do has respect. But when you try to find the easy way out, it takes so long for you to get there. And sometimes you don't get to that. So what I always tell my students is, don't try to find the easy way out. Volunteer, go out, meet people, ask questions, ask people questions. Go to soccer meetups. I have a student, he was at a soccer meetup, met somebody from a big consulting firm, ended up getting a job over there.
Wow.
Just playing football. The rest of the people, like I said, from my country, as well as from different parts of the world. I shouldn't say just my country, but other parts of the world too. They kind of think they want to go and just click apply jobs. One thing that I've learned is the Canadian business industry, or generally Canada, is full of immigrants. Large part of it is immigrants, right? I mean, except for natives, everybody's an immigrant. When you come from a different part of the world, it's so hard to trust people because you don't know them.
Yeah.
Now you are a hiring manager. Like, look at it from the other side. Now you're a hiring manager. You have 20 resumes in front of you. You have no idea who they are. But see, you've met somebody in there. And you have some confidence of how they look, how they talk, who they are. It's easier to hire people from that perspective.
That's why people recommend their friends.
Yes.
Hey, I call you. Hey, man, I have someone for that.
Exactly.
I did that yesterday. I did that today.
See?
For a girl, her name is Sneha, just like
Okay.
Is she at UCW?
I think there is a Sneha at UCW, I know.
No, so that's not your wife.
No.
Because I recommended her to a friend for a job
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this morning
Man, that's
he texted
awesome.
me,
So
hey,
good
send
of
me
you.
your resume. So,
Yeah.
great.
See?
Yeah.
Now, if you think about from that perspective, you're sitting home and just clicking and applying jobs. I mean, sure, you'll get one.
Oh, she had applied for the job.
Yeah,
Hadn't been called for interview.
exactly.
But I called the owner of the company and said, look, man, I want you to know that I recommend this person. I know her. I think, knowing your business for over 10 years, I think she might be a good fit.
Just talk to her,
Yeah.
right?
Now he wants to interview her.
See?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's what I tell everybody is like, don't go the traditional way of clicking and applying jobs. This is going to be the hard way. And the hard way is you try to connect to people.
Oh, and there's also another thing, showing up.
Yes.
We
Showing
get-
up,
we
well
get
dressed,
resumes.
on time, all of that.
We get resumes, emails
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much everybody who works for us right now showed up, either knocking on the door or approaching us, including the guy here behind
Yeah.
the computer
Look
here.
at him.
He came, hey, I do this. My name is so-and-so. I do this. I like your work because of this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
I would love to be a part of your team. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah. All these social media trends of, this is how your resume is. Use AI to customize your resume. Click, click, click. It's like, oh, man.
But that is a shortcut. They are high.
It's a shortcut.
It's the comfortable way.
Yes.
Stay behind your
Because you're
desk.
sitting at home,
Don't show your
cozy.
picture.
Yeah.
Don't show yourself. Don't get, the rejection here is much smaller.
Yeah. And I understand that. What that's driven by is, first, you've never done this before. The second is a lot of people are introverts. So they're like, I don't know what to do. And the most basic thing is, like you said, show up and ask questions. Eldon, what kind of challenges do you have in your business? Is there a challenge I can help you with? Is there something I can help you build? Don't pay me, whatever, right? Or pay me, or this is what you pay me. You demand for it. If you think you're really good at it, you demand for it. But you show up and you ask and you talk. But if you just click, and click, I think it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's going to be hard. Some people have seen success.
I like how you mentioned ask questions and
Yeah.
ask about their challenges. I also tell people that, look, when you are looking for a job, your possible employer, he does not care about you, your story, your expectations,
No.
and your experience. All he cares about is his or their, or her business.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
They're not
How can you help
going
them?
after you. Hey, what are your dreams and your expectations? Where do you come from? It doesn't matter.
No.
They have a big machine to run.
Yeah.
And you might become an important piece of that
Yeah.
big machine. So when you go, and then the first thing that really matters is how much you want that spot.
Yeah.
How much you want to be a part of that team. That's what matters the most to me. Like 90%. How much do you want it?
Yeah.
10%, what can you do for me?
Yeah. I think, a lot of people or students, when they come here, they do want to find the easy way out because it's comfortable, but it's also, there's a lot of pressure to acknowledge it, right?
Yeah.
The pressure to pay your bills.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if somebody's volunteering, they are coming from a place of privilege. I was privileged that my dad paid my fees. But then there are people that come here that their fees weren't paid off. They mortgaged the land of the whole family to be able to come here. So for them, the pressure is to really make things work. And that's what I say to them too, is to say, I understand the challenge you have, but you'd rather grill for a year and a half and make good money than grill for 5 years in the same way. Like, no shame in working at McDonald's or whatever it is. I used to work at Chevron. I've done cleaning jobs, all of that. But I knew that's not my end goal. My end goal is not to make money right now. My end goal is to
goal is
build
not
my
to get the
foundation.
PR.
Yes.
Your end goal is to
The
become-
PR is a byproduct. It's kind of like what you say to companies too, right? Profit is not the end product, it's the byproduct. You have a really good product, the profit comes itself. You don't have to worry about it. And that's what I say to them, is that the money will come. Just focus on building the foundation and what you really want to do. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do. You just go for what you can. Go for what you like. And then when you get there, you're like, okay, I like this. I'm going to continue this. I don't like this. I'm going to change something about it. I think it's the willingness to be able to do this and maybe for a little bit take your eye off the permanent residence. Because it's really all about the PR. For a lot of them, it's all about the PR.
It becomes a distraction.
It becomes a distraction, and then you're chasing the wrong stuff in life. And then everything follows that. Whereas if you focus on your career, everything else falls into place. And that's what I did. I focused on my career. I was worried about my PR, not that I wasn't. But I was focused on getting, I was focused on getting the job that I would really like. Because if I wanted to do a job that I didn't really like, I was just better off at home.
Yeah.
You know, life was much more comfortable in my parents' home. I would have done things a lot more comfortably there.
What is the main mistake that you see international students doing that you wish they could wake up and avoid?
I think really understanding what it means to live here. And what I mean by that is, what are you coming here for? So when you come to the school, you say you want to go to the school and learn, but not a lot of them continue to be on that path. So when they get here, the first thing they would want to do is find a job. They want to find a job because they want to make money and get their PR. So the wrong focus is always the biggest issue. It's always the biggest issue, is the wrong focus. Everything else is secondary. You're in the school, learn. And when you're learning, you ask questions. So say, for example, I teach finance, right? I teach risk management. I always tell them what the real world problems are. Every once in a while, I get some really good students that come and say, can I talk to someone about this? Can you connect me to somebody? And it's like, absolutely, man. And I've connected so many people to so many people that I know to say, this person would like to learn more about compliance. This person would like to learn more about risk management. This person wants to learn more about finance. And when you focus on learning things while you're in the school, then you start taking the right path. Whereas if you come here and you're worried about the job and you forget about school, first you spend so much money and now you're just trying to make money and you're not focusing on school. So you fail the courses, you need more money.
You're going to end up
Exactly. It's the wrong circle of life. It's the wrong circle now you've fallen into. And then you keep going into that circle. By the time you realize you're kind of close to graduation or graduated, and now you're like, what am I going to do? I'm going to find a job at whatever establishment that I can get that can help me get the PR. And then the questions they ask is, what job can I get that can get me the PR? And it's like, dude, you're asking the wrong questions. The right question is, what kind of job that I can get that I would really enjoy? And it is worth my skills.
And become so good at that any company will want me to stay.
Yeah. And then when you're good at it, it's not always, but I would say 9 out of 10 times, PR will be a byproduct. That's what happened with a lot of my friends. They just went for the job that they liked. I have a good friend lives in Winnipeg, if I'm not wrong. He got a job before me, very well paid job. The guy works in asset liability management. It's a technical term in banking world. The guy got a job over there before, and he's from Nigeria. And he said the same thing. Is like, the Nigerians, they come over here and they're so worried about the PR. Everybody's worried about the PR because if you look at it, what's the biggest risk when you're here? They'll kick you back and go back home. You invested so much money. And I understand where it comes from. It's not wrong. It's just, if you live in fear, you will never achieve anything in life. Like, if it's always about fear, like it's like the life of Pi, right? Like the tiger, it's always there. But if you're always focused on the tiger, you will forget that you have to live a life. You have to catch a fish, you have to eat, you have to take rest, you have to sleep, you have to protect yourself, all of that. You've always worried about the tiger. So, really one key takeaway is remember that the tiger is there to remind you of what things can go wrong. But if you always focus on the tiger, you're never going to achieve what you want. So maybe spend some time to think about what you want.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. one piece of advice for us to wrap this up here.
Yes.
I know there's so many pieces of advice you could give, but if they can start with one, what would be the piece of advice? You feel free to look at the camera.
I want to say this to people watching this is, if you're listening to this and you want to go on my LinkedIn, send me a message, have a coffee chat. I'd love to help. When I came here, I didn't have a lot of help. So my life's mission is whenever I have time, I'd love to help. I think the biggest piece of advice is to believe in yourself of what you want to achieve. If you have a dream, you just have to believe in it, and it doesn't matter what people think about it. And I know a lot of people have said it, and I know that it's like, it's so easy to say it and so hard to do it. So that is my advice, is do not worry about how hard it is. Just believe in yourself and go for it. If it's harder, it's going to be sweeter. If it's harder, it's going to be much better. And if it's harder, you really enjoy what you've done to get there. So harder is better.
Yeah. Like I say, the harder it is now, the easier it will be later.
Yeah. Or it will never be easier.
And even if you fail, at the end, when you come out of, of it on the other side, you're going to be a more resilient, a better person.
If somebody asked you to do everything you've done all over again, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
You can do it.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
That's belief.
Yeah. Confident.
You are not shying away from the difficulty of what challenge life presents. Yeah. So it's all about that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Urvish,
for having me.
It was so nice chatting a little bit with you. I feel like we could talk for another hour.
Yes, I'd love to.
Thank you so much. We're going to put in the description some links.
Yes.
Your LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
I don't have a website, no.
Okay. We're also going to put in the description here a link where people can follow UCW and the MBA Games.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for sticking with us until the end of this episode. If you liked it, remember to share, to like it. And if you want to share your story too, or comment on anything that we discussed here today, go ahead and write something in the comments. We would love to learn more about your own experience. I think that's it. Oh, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Okay? Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.